Hi guys, hope everybody is doing well today. It's been, geez, it has to be 4 weeks since my last update on our neighbor's build next door. It's going very well. There's been a lot of rain here lately. I'm going to do a video on the aftermath of yet another tropical storm in our area that dumped just tremendous amount of rain. You can see it's still windy. You can see some of our bushes again toppled over, even though we did quite a bit of trimming on them. Probably trimmed off, I don't know, maybe 8-10 inches, and still wasn't enough. So we're going to have to give all those bushes a haircut. So we're going to go ahead and walk to our neighbor's home. Now, I think there's some guys over here. They're not working today because it's Sunday. But I think they're staying here. So we'll see their surprised eyes when they see a foreigner coming over and videoing the home that they're working on with just a tremendous rain. I mean, really, really amazing how much rain can drop in an area in a short amount of time. And, you know, I'm no expert, but I emptied out the pool probably 5 times at 4 inches per empty. So do the math. That's like 20 inches of rain over the course of a week. So the last update that I did, we said that the electric was out, what, 2 or 3 days in a row consistently? Still not on. So I think we're day 5. Might even be day 6. Not exactly sure, 5 or 6. Where there's been a solid brownout in this area. So I know I always mention how having backup power, generator, solar is very important in the tropics. So I'm here on site. Let me turn this camera around and get you guys an update. All right, so today's focus is we're gonna talk about the roof. The roof has been completed, and they're starting to work on the gutters, and then all the rendering that needs to be done. And rendering is when you have a hollow block wall or even a poured wall, and then they work on smoothing out the roughness, the texture of the hollow block. And you can see that that's what they're focusing on. So really what that is a combination of fine sand that's sifted to get out the little pebbles, and straight cement, and it's a high concentration of cement. And what they do is they put it on quite wet, and then they smooth it out with trowels to get a nice smooth texture. And just look at how much has to be done. The entire house, inside and out, all has to be rendered, and that takes a lot of time. And then they'll go back through with a skim coat, because this will not be the painted surface. Though it's smooth, it still has a rough texture. So let me get real close. Can you see the rough texture? And even how there's pieces of extra concrete on here. That'll all be cleaned up. So they'll come through and trowel anything that's rough. And this is very rough, like very gritty sandpaper. And they're going to come through here at least 2 coats, maybe even a 3rd coat of skim coat. And that's a real fine white powdery substance, kind of like gypsum board or joint compound. And they'll go through and smooth that all out, fill in any cracks, because there's always going to be some hairline cracks in your rendering. See those small little hairline cracks? Very normal. So that's what that skim coat is for, to fill them all in and get it as smooth as possible. So let's jump up. I'll climb up here and we'll see what's going on inside. So you and I are both seeing this progress at the same time. I have not been over here in 3 or 4 weeks. Like I said, I only come over here when I do videos. So they've made a lot of progress. They got the rough floor in. So that is rebar with gravel underneath, usually about 4 or 5 inches of cement. And believe it or not, they don't worry about it being level. And they don't really worry about it being smooth. You can see it's just a rough texture of cement, not exact at all. And the reason for that is they're going to come in here when they do the tile, and they will put a pretty thick amount of either cement, or they could use tile adhesive. Some builds do it either way. But let's just say this is off by an inch, that one side is high. They'll do snap lines to get level. And then they'll come in here, and if it's an inch low over here, they'll just put an inch more concrete. That's just the way they do it. And then they'll embed the tile in that concrete. So it doesn't matter if this is level or not. Take a look at some electrical. Now the electrical is run always up into the void of where the roof is, and you can see the insulation up there, the silver backing of the insulation, and the ceiling height. So you can see where this outlet, and they do the outlets here horizontal, and will be 220. There may be some 110s here, but usually 220, and you can tell it's 220 because it's horizontal. That's the way they do it here. And let's just say they did a 110 next to it, they would do the 110 vertical. That's just the way they do it here. And then you can see the conduit. Let me try to zoom in. See the conduit right there? Well, that means that the ceiling will be just below that. So all the wires going back to the main panels, and I'll take the zoom out, will all come from the outlets and will go up in behind all this rendering. And the wires will come out, and then it'll go up to go back to the panels. So here's an unfinished. So they chip out the hollow block, as Wilma and I say, chip, 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 which also creates a lot of mess when they chip out all this concrete. But they'll run all the conduit, and it's buried inside the walls of the hollow block. See the wire here? They call that pull wire. So it's the same tie wire that they use for the rebar, of tying vertical and horizontal rebar. The same stuff. They buy it here by the kilo. And they also use it for a pull. So when it comes time to pull a wire through this, the actual electrical wire, they'll attach it and then they'll pull it through. So you'll see this throughout rough-ins. But you can see that this still all has to be filled in with cement. And it looks rough here. But look what it looks like when it's done. These guys are masters at dealing with concrete. You can see that this is relatively new because it's still a little dark here, which is still curing. See how they got this smoothed out? But yet it's still got a texture of sandpaper because they have to skim coat it. At least 2 or 3 coats. So take a look at the doorways where this has been rendered, and this is still rough with the hollow block. You see all the rebar. So this is the rough, and then they'll come in here and start working it. And it will look like this. See how nice straight edges? And they accomplish all these straight edges by snap lines. So they'll put snap lines exactly where they want the concrete to go. And then they keep putting that rendering concrete, which is that fine sand and concrete, and mix it and throw it on. And they keep shaping it and working it and shaping and working. A lot of work. Well, look how good that looks. how square that looks to the rough. So that's why this takes a lot of time. Here is a master bedroom. You guys remember that in our build, how we brought in some chairs? So obviously the homeowners, while they're visiting the site every day, sitting here, just enjoying the view. So let's take a walk to the kitchen area and see what's going on back there. All right, so I was just over in this area, which is in the front of the house, in the sala, living room. So now I'm here in the back of the house. This is the kitchen area, as well as the TV room and the 2 spare bedrooms. And you can see, since our last update, it's all been rendered. Now, having the roof on is a big milestone, and it was partially on when I did my last update. So that's big. And the reason why that's big is you get showers here often. There's weeks that go by that you'll get a shower every day. And it's kind of like you call it Florida weather, or just call it tropical weather, where it'll rain for an hour and then it'll stop. So with the roof on, you don't really have to worry about the weather anymore. You don't have to worry about the rain, because there's always a lot of inside work. So a good foreman will, on a nice sunny day, have the guys work outside, and then when it rains, bring them inside, just to keep the project going efficiently. So I'm sure that's what's happening here. So we got some light switches going in, more electrical outlets. You can see a lot of outlets. Still have some rough-ins. You can see all the conduit that's been buried in the concrete. Now again, we're seeing this together, same time. So this has been filled in. This was a big drop here. Wasn't it like 20 inches, 2 foot, if I remember right? I think it was about to that level last time I was here. So they're starting to fill in, call it the breezeway. They have steps in. There is the finished level, getting ready for pouring concrete for the carport. Now, last time I talked to the homeowners, they said that the plan was to put the septic back there, but they decided to change it, and that's the beauty of being on site. You can make changes to put the septic in the carport, and that is done here often in the Philippines. So it looks like they're getting ready to pour the concrete in the carport. You can see they have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 steps coming down to the carport. So their vehicle will be parked in this area right here. And the septic is here. And then they're going to be working on raising up the driveway, obviously, to meet the horizontal carport of the concrete. Bomb shelter, typhoon shelter. They got their steps going down. Ton of progress, right? Guess it's going to be 3 or 4 weeks since my last update. I think it's been probably 4 weeks. So steps coming up to a little breezeway, going into a storage room. This is going to be the solar panel room. This is going to be the dirty kitchen. Still got some work to do in there, but all the roof is on. There's the back portion. Making good progress. You see all these steel doors. They used the same vendor that we did the video on, that did our gate. So that was great. we love to do videos showing local vendors, local businesses, Filipino businesses, where they get extra business from our channel. We actually really enjoy that. Remember last video I said that they purchased this little valley here? They're doing a lot of work, ton of work, planting a lot of trees. Let me take a step down. I'm gonna have to tell you a quick story. I'm stepping down gingerly because I think I broke my heel, and I use the term broke carefully. Oh wow, very nice. Again, guys, we're seeing this together for the first time in 4 weeks. A lot of work's been done. It's gonna be beautiful. All terraced. All gonna be flowers and bushes and fruit trees. You see, it looks like they planted a lot of grass over there. I'm gonna assume that's carabao grass, which is the same type of grass that we have over on our property. This has all been fenced in with concrete posts and what I call barbed wire. They call it hog wire here, just for security purposes. So back to my heel. I think I'm a teenager, or I think I'm in my 20s, and I was working with Wilma, and I was in the back of my truck, and I was jumping up there and unloading something. I forget. We went and got something, and she goes, "Be careful coming down." And she lifted her hand to help me off the back of the truck. And, you know, of course, I'm an alpha male, so I'm like, I'm not going to have you help me off the truck. So jokingly, I jumped up in the air as I left the back of the truck to get some height, just to shock her. And then when I landed on the ground, there was a pain in my left heel. And it's probably been 3 weeks, and I can barely step on it, and it's not getting better. So we'll see what happens here in the future. No sense going to the doctor. They're not going to do anything. But I've been walking gingerly for 3 weeks. And usually as I'm doing projects, weed whacking, painting, whatever I'm doing throughout the day, vacuuming the pool like I did yesterday, I wake up in the morning, can barely walk. So once again, Wilma was right. It's nice to see a non-angry sky. Nice to see some sun. Still a brownout in the area. I think it's day 5, or it's knocking on day 6 with a brownout in this area, no power. Unbelievable. But it's the Philippines, and we're far up the mountain, and I know there was a lot of issues with power failures, electrical lines being down. However, we're up the mountain. There's a lot less people up here. So this area is the last to get fixed. When Wilma and I are out and about, we do see the trucks, and they look like they were replacing a couple poles on our road. The big electrical poles, like this one right here. They were replacing them maybe 3 kilometers down the road. We're about 7.5 kilometers from the national highway. So about 3 kilometers down, we saw the Noriko truck down there replacing some. So there's just power lines everywhere. So again, going to build a home in the Philippines, seriously consider solar, and seriously consider Starlink. If we didn't have Starlink right now, we wouldn't have any internet for 6 days, because the power lines are down. When the power lines go down, guess what's on the same line as on the poles? The fiber. So too much of a risk, especially being up. We're so far up the mountain, so far secluded, that stretching fiber wire 8 kilometers up the jungle, there's a lot of trees between here and 8 kilometers down to the national highway. So with all these trees down with the storms, guess what? It could be out for a long, long time. You hear the dog fight down there? A lot of stray dogs. That's a big issue here in the Philippines. So I wanted to get an update. I was curious because I haven't been over here in a long time. And we're leaving our neighbors alone. Well, I'm not going to be that pesky neighbor that every time they come up here. One thing I'll say, they're here every day. They're here every day. How many times have I said, guys, you really got to be on site because you see things. Not that anybody's doing anything dubious, which very well could happen, but at least you're here to say, oh, I didn't know it was going to be like that. And you have time to make adjustments. What I just noticed as I'm sitting here chatting, well, notice a couple things. I wonder if that's Sandy's footprint. Again, they don't mind this. I learned the hard way when they poured the cement and I was like, keep the dogs out. And they were like, why? Who cares? And I'm like, well, I care. I want it to be smooth. You're never going to see this because, again, they're going to put a whole bunch of cement before they do the tiling. But see this over here? Remember I was saying horizontal and vertical? So here's my guess. This is going to be 220 outlet for most appliances here in the Philippines. This is going to be a 110. Just a guess. So vertical means 110. So if they have any 110 appliances, it'll go in here. Got to be very careful not to switch any of the plugs. Sometimes they even put a different color faceplate. So say this is a white faceplate. This may be a brown or an orange, a different color to make sure that everybody knows. But this is what I'm saying. Typically, this means 220. This means 110. So I was glad I was able to show you that. So there you go, guys. Quick update. A lot of progress. We're seeing this together. And maybe we'll continue to do it that way. So it's more spontaneous. Just kind of give you guys an update, and we're seeing it at the same time, and I can just give you my thoughts. You guys are doing a real nice job here. And once it's done and our neighbors move in, this is going to be their view every day.